Hi, welcome to Chat with Sonlight. Like Sonlight's curriculum offerings, we will explore homeschooling through the lens of a literature-based, Christ-centered education. Join us for everything you might be interested in for organizing your homeschool, connecting with others, and details on literature-based learning, and maybe a few sneak peeks. Hi, welcome to Chat with Sonlight. I am here today with my friend Emme Kim. She is also a SEC, or we call them Sonlight Curriculum Consultant. You'll see her at conventions, primarily I know you are in the Texas area, but I don't know if that's all your conventions that you do, but I get to see her at least 2 or 3 times a year on the convention floor, traveling around the country. But Emmy is my resident pre-K, preschool expert, and that does not mean that she knows everything in and out about the pre-K program, but she has had her hands in the developing of the hands-on elements of the pre-K and the preschool program. But today we want to talk about pre-K. For those who don't know what pre-K means, it means pre-kindergarten. So it is when it's that grade between preschool and kindergarten, ages 4 to 5, or what you might do with your kids prior to putting them into kindergarten.
Mhm.
And there we are. I mean, there's my knowledge. No, I know a little more, but
That's great, Johna. You nailed it.
okay, we're done. We're done.
I know.
I did not do pre-K with my kids. I started that. My child was like 1999, last century when I started with my first child. And so I made sure they had their alphabet, their numbers, their colors. And then we started kindergarten with the goal of taking a year and a half to 2 years to just ease our way through it. That's how I started my homeschool journey.
Yes. Because I was a Montessori teacher for 7 years, my kids were actually in a Montessori school for preschool and pre-K. So I actually didn't do a pre-K program outside of that with my kids either. So we're kind
But
of on the same sheet.
oh,
Yes.
good, good. So far I'm doing good. But you were able to bring a lot of that Montessori knowledge into Sunlight's pre-K program.
That's right. That's right. So the pre-K program before was excellent, and it had a huge variety of amazing books, as well as some developmental resources that are still in there.
Right.
But what I did was I just added in some of those hands-on Montessori materials and exercises and activities that are going to really set a good foundation for the pre-K students to prepare them for the K program if they were to move on to that.
So the pre-K, we have an instructor guide for our pre-K program, but this
Yes.
is to allow the mom to be thoroughly equipped to teach pre-K without being a master of what they have to do. Is that correct?
Yes, and I would say that the pre-K IG, much like the preschool IG, is going to give you much more than you need. And so it's not necessary to feel like you have to accomplish every single thing that's in there. There's going to be a wide variety of optional, um, like pre-K level activities that you can do to supplement what you're doing in the reading. Oftentimes they go along with whatever the content of the reading was. And so it's just meant to give you lots and lots of resources and ideas, and you can pick and choose what you want to do and go at the pace that is right for you. Very
So that
flexible.
very flexible. The
Yeah.
hands-on kit, so we call I will get that linked in here, but I'll also link the whole package with our podcast here. But they have little shapes. Is that correct? They have shapes inside
Yes.
and out. And
So there's going to be
oh,
things
good.
like this. Yes, they're called geometric shapes or geometric insets and frames. And really, there's many things to learn from this. Not only does it teach the shapes, but actually, primarily, it is a pre-writing skill. And so while they're learning their shapes, they're also learning how to trace the shape of it. They're learning how to hold their pencil or their marker. They'll start off with fat markers, just because it's easier to grip, or fat crayons actually, and then generally they'll move on to a regular pencil, and that just kind of helps them with their pincher grip. And so they'll trace these first on paper, and then they will graduate to tracing the actual
Shape.
geometric shape. The inset is what it's called. And then after that, then they can progress to making a bunch of different patterns with the different shapes, and it really kind of takes off from there. They have lots of room for creativity and art. I mean, it's just a lot of different things that you can do.
So let me ask you, and this is an honest question, I do not know the answer. When you have the circle and you're doing the inside, so the pink one,
Yeah.
you do that one
Definitely.
first. Is that because you tend to push out and it helps help them build
Yeah.
that skill?
Yes, because you're pushing into the frame. And so that's, before they're really developing the ability to kind of hold the inset on paper. When they hold
Right.
the actual blue inset, they have to hold it with one hand, or yeah, I think yes, you have to hold it with one hand and really trace around it. So it really does take more dexterity and control, with that pincher grip and with that motion. So it's really developing fine motor coordination basically as a pre-writing skill.
Yeah. And you were talking about fat crayons versus markers and stuff. And I know, and this would be
Yes.
my little note to moms. I had one of my kids who a pencil. Even going into middle school, he did not like writing with a pencil. And I finally
Yeah.
learned if I gave him an erasable pen, I didn't get the pushback that I got with a pencil because it was just the feel. He could feel that grit, I guess, on the pencil. And so,
Yeah, absolutely. I think anything that you can do to just make it easier for the kids. I think the whole focus of, especially for early childhood, this age range from about 2 to 5,
mhm.
everything is new, right? They're learning so many new things, and everything is, trial and error. And you want to set them up for success. And so the whole idea of a program like this is providing the environment, providing the resources and materials and the methods that are going to accelerate that success, and kind of make it so that they know that they can do it and feel like they can be successful and feel confident moving on to harder and harder things as they grow.
Right. So moving on with Sunlight's pre-K program, it is full of, in the instructor guide, the hands-on activities as well as the read alouds, which is the core for Sunlight. And we're strong. We emphasize the read alouds, but in that we're developing character traits that we want to develop with our children. Is
Absolutely. And
okay.
so the books are going to be like an outstanding collection of books. Um, you're going to have a whole slew of classics. There's also there's art, there's science, there's just wonderful read alouds, Dr. Seuss books. There's the first 1,000 words in Spanish and in English.
Right.
And so they're just going to get just a ton of great reading. um, and I don't know, you're probably the same way as I was, Jonna, but like your books, when you read your kids, especially when they were younger, they become something that they read on their own as they get older, and then they read it to their younger siblings, and it just becomes part of your family life after a while. Like the stories and the character, the lessons, the morals, the values that are instilled in those stories, all of that kind of becomes part of your family life and your conversations, and it's almost like at an unconscious level after a while, but they
Uh-huh.
do shape, the kids' thinking and how they view people and the world, and what they can learn from mistakes as well as from success. And so
Right.
it's just a great collection of books.
And you're right. It's our classics. It's ones that we grew up with. It's ones that we want to bring to our kids and let them experience. And we want to do it because we've done it ourselves. It's like sharing a little bit of yourself with your kids. And if you haven't read the books, then they become new ones for your whole family to read.
Exactly, exactly. I actually have all the books that I homeschooled for 13 years so far, and I have all my books still because I just feel like they're so amazing. I don't want to get rid of them, and I want to pass them on to my grandkids someday, and I'll lend them to people, but I don't sell them because I
I,
want to keep them.
I was
They're
like,
just
you can
that
borrow them,
amazing.
but they
Yes,
must come back. They must, or I'll hunt you
exactly.
down. Yes.
Yes. And I
And
also wanted to mention, I'm sorry,
no,
that there's a Bible book called The 101 Favorite Stories from the Bible, and that is also incorporated into the daily IG.
okay.
And so with that are really great Bible stories. But we've also added devotional questions and a prayer. And so that just makes it a seamless either, start to your morning or maybe end to your day or wherever you want to fit that in. And I just think that those are a beautiful way to, really emphasize God's word and his truths into the lives of these, little ones.
Right.
So yeah, I love
And
I
you,
love that Bible.
and it is a very I'm down here, but it's just a little Bible book. It's the
Little.
101.
Right, right. The title is 101, right? But it's pretty thin. Like I mean, and it's a hardcover and it's got beautiful pictures and yeah, it's a really nice Bible.
If I remember right, it's pretty much a a recounting in the Bible and then the picture for that your child to look at the picture while you read, but it's not going to bore your child's not going to get disinterested sitting there while
Right.
you read 5 pages. It's
Exactly.
just going to be,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
The
Um
other one of the other things that I know that we add in, and I tell people often, are developmental books that
yes.
we have. Um, those to me, now looking back, I'm like, oh, these are what I always was looking for my
Right.
kids to learn with.
Right. And these are really great. Then these are the four developing the early learner books that come. All four of these come in the pre-K package.
Right,
They were in there before and they're still in there. But it just focuses on, different early developmental skills, auditory, visual, motor, thinking. There's a little assessment thing that you can do in the back as well, which I think is pretty helpful. Um, and it starts off, I have to say, it's book 1 through 4. And it starts off, you might think, oh gosh, this is like so easy. But
right,
really, if you stick with the program, you will find that it becomes more and more complex. And it actually is very, very developmentally appropriate for this age group and challenging. So,
right.
yeah, these are really great.
So that's one of the things that if you use the program and then you're going to use it again for, little Johnny's little brother or sister, you want to buy those books again and again. You
Yeah,
just keep a set at
exactly.
the ready. So
Yes. Yes. And I know people that just love the books themselves and they'll just buy them again. Like they'll reuse the pre-K program and obviously it's a consumable. So they will
right.
buy them again for their younger kids. And just keep using it for multiple kids. So yeah.
So we've talked about the great books, the instructor guide, the hands-on with the circle, the shapes. There's also numbers and
Yes.
letters that they have, and they
Mhm.
have the sand. They have like sandpaper texture to them, so that your kids can.
Yes, so the original Montessori letters and numbers do have sandpaper texture. These have a little bit just more of a like a lighter texture to it,
Right,
but it's definitely a tactile experience. It's going to have the same effect. And you're just basically teaching your child to not only learn the look of it with their eyes, but the feel of it with their hands, because especially in this age range, that hands-on experience is really really important for kids.
right.
And so tracing the actual shape of the circle, the A, or the capitals, um, it reinforces in their brains more than it would if you were to just show it to them on paper. And so that's where that sensorial reinforcement comes in with the pre-K program.
I mean, and I like playing with all the pieces when we're at the convention floor.
Yes.
So you can always visit us and get your hands on them. But the other thing is that the instructor guide, beyond using the shapes and doing the letters and the numbers, it gives you other hands-on activities to do related to the books or suggestions. They walked in the woods. Why don't you take a walk outside and gather stuff? Or
Yes.
and I know I'm mixing the books up. I can always remember Mike Mulligan, which I think is in
Yes.
the preschool program.
I think, yeah, I think so.
It is, but my kids and we love Mike Mulligan. That's one of those books. We read it. My husband read it when he was little. We read it to our kids. But then I read through it and I read through the instructor guide on that one, which is similar to the books that we have. It tells you, get sand, go and dig. And so you reenact Mike Mulligan digging and digging and digging. But it
Right.
just brings the whole story to life because some kids don't know what a steam shovel is because
Oh,
of where they
for sure.
live. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing about the pre-K IG is that it's so important to use it and not just look at the schedule. If you can, as a parent, I know as moms, we're so tied for time. And especially at this age, you don't want to be like perusing every detail, and you certainly don't have to and are not required to with this program. Um, but do take a minute, just to flip through the IG, look at some of those optional activities. They really, really
Right.
are good. And like you said, Jonna, they oftentimes go hand in hand with something that the kids have read that day or that week. And so it reinforces and brings to life, like you said, what they're reading about. So they are really, really good to do.
And while you're drinking your first cup of coffee or tea or just that first glass of water in the morning, it's a good time to just kind of flip through as you're planning. Do I have to go to the grocery? Are the kids up yet? Are we?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes. And it would only take, maybe like a minute or two to just
really.
glance through. You
Yeah,
don't have to read every word, just kind of get a feel and think, oh, well, and remember the pre-K program is only 4 days a week and it probably takes about 30 to 45 minutes a day. That gives you quite a lot of time. And I know that we all as moms, we've got plenty to do,
right.
and
I-
oftentimes we have lots of other kids, or and just homeschooling in general. But it won't take very long to just look through those and pick and choose what you want to do.
And that 35 to 40 minutes a day does not need to be done all together. You can break that apart across your whole day. And so when
Yes.
you're doing 5 and 10 minutes throughout your day, it is
Yeah.
very easy to incorporate it into your daily life. And those younger kids that are hanging out that are maybe not ready, they're going to learn so much just playing with brother or sister
Oh,
doing it.
totally. Yes. And the thing is that when kids, especially like in the age between 2 to 4, 2 to 5, when they start one of these activities, like let's say the geometric shapes, or they're tracing, or they're putting together a gluing collage or something, those are all things that you want to give them unlimited time. You want them to take all the time that they want to with those activities, and not feel like they have to be rushed, like it's not something that needs to be finished in 5 minutes. It's something that they can spend much longer on if they feel like they want to. And actually, at this age, that repetition, that reinforcement is so important because it just keeps, it keeps
Mhm.
developing those skills, and it gives them the ability to really hone their skills while they're working. So,
Right.
um, while they're doing some art project with pre-K, mom can be working with the older two, doing all of those history read alouds or whatnot, and kind of keep an eye on the younger one while he or she is working on something else. And I know that they all need a lot of help, and they always, it's not like um, you can leave them for a long, long time. But, there are definitely things like in the practical life section where they are learning how to peel carrots and cut fruits and vegetables. And, maybe give them, like, once they get to the point where they're super skilled at it, give them, the opportunity to make the salad for dinner,
Right.
and that does take some time. It takes little hands, a little extra time to wash things, to set out the cutting board, and to kind of use their dexterity to peel and to cut. Well, you want to watch them when they're cutting,
Right.
for their little fingers, but and just to give them that time, that uninterrupted time is so important for these little ones, just to develop those skills and feel the joy of it,
They,
so yeah.
yeah, because they get joyful. They contributed, they did. But
Yes.
time spent now developing that, moms, you will reap that time tenfold over later in life. Because when they're in, upper elementary, you can say, hey, I need you to take care of the carrots. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay, got it. I'm done.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes, yes. And it's amazing how it seems to us as adults, like, so, like this is not super significant. But you got to remember that for a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, like to be able to say, I can do so many things that I see older people doing, adults doing, my older brother doing or sister, and I can do it too. It's really confidence building. And, um, really sets the stage for them to feel that same mindset, to have that same mindset as they grow, because every year they're going to learn new skills. And every year their work is going to become progressively more difficult. And so they need that. They need that confidence to say, I've learned so many things. I can do so many things that a lot of people that I know, maybe can't do, And so I know I can do these new things too, And so that's part of the socio, I guess, emotional aspect of these developmental activities. It's not just that they're gaining skills and developmentally learning and growing in their academics, but also, most importantly, I think, emotionally, psychologically, just feeling that assurance that they can do so many things.
right. And they'll come back one day and tell you, Mom, thank you. Thank you for taking
Yes.
the time and teaching
Yes.
me. Yeah.
Yes, most definitely. I think, and I think you'll be thankful too. I think, I mean, for me, I was thankful that my kids learned those skills in Montessori schools. And as they grew, it was just easy. They knew that they could do a lot of different things, and it just is easier as they grow.
Right. So, Emmy, I know your kids went to Montessori preschool before you started homeschooling, pre-K preschool before you started homeschooling. But having worked in this program, do you wish that you could have done it with them? Some of these things.
You mean this program, like the pre-K
Yes.
program? Well, I feel like I think that the fusion of the two things is amazing. I
Right.
think that having a little bit of the Montessori aspect, like some of the key components for this age range, mixed with the amazing books, is like, it's quite unique. I don't think there's anything on the market like quite like this, what
Yeah.
Sunlight has. And so I feel like if I was to go back and just homeschool, yes, I would
Right.
have definitely loved using a program like this. But we used Sunlight from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade. So um, we didn't miss anything otherwise when it came to the rest of the amazing things.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, and I've used Sunlight all the way through, but I look at the preschool and the pre-K, and I'm often going, oh, that would have been great to have and it
Yeah.
wasn't there when I first started. So
Right.
yes,
Right. Right.
yeah. I'm a little envious of the moms of today. So,
Oh, well, you can always use it with your grandkids someday, Jonna, at some point.
well, I am only like a year or two away from that. So yeah, yeah. You
Okay.
were talking about skills. One of the things that her mom, they let her set the table, and she was here at Christmas time, and they let her set the table for one of our meals. And of course, she went through my silverware drawer, which I have like one of my, you have your forks, your knives, your spoons. I also have one for chopsticks. She really likes chopsticks, but so we all got chopsticks. So
Yes.
I was like,
And
well, that's an interesting way.
they do chopsticks in Montessori classrooms. Also, they teach the 2 and 3-year olds how to use them, because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Yeah, well, it
use
is
at that
hard.
age.
Well, Emme, thank you so much for today. I know that you have been a great asset for Sonlight and bringing in the key elements for Montessori, from Montessori into the preschool pre-K. I thank you for all your endeavors that you gave us. And
Thanks,
people
Carmen.
look for Emme on the floor. Ask her all the pre-K questions you want. So,
Yes, I will be mostly in Texas.
do you have any advice for a brand new mom that you would wish that you had known when you started homeschooling? This is kind of how I ask every person on my podcast.
For a person who's starting homeschooling, did you
Yeah,
say? Um, I would say, I think if I could go back, there were years in the beginning, especially in the beginning years, like the first several years of homeschooling, where I felt like I had to do everything. And I felt like if I didn't check off all the boxes, all of the things in the IG, if we didn't do every assignment or whatever, I felt um like somehow I wasn't doing enough, or I just felt like I was maybe cheating them of they're
right,
when you're first starting off, you don't know. And so but now, after that first period of time, then you look back and you go, wow, we really didn't have to do every single thing. Like we could, and I don't even mean that we did every single thing, but it's just that constant feeling that you had to.
right,
um you really don't. It really is a buffet. And if you think about how much kids learn in a public school and how much they don't do in a book, I don't know what my daughter went to public school for a short time, and for I think 2 years, and she would bring home the workbooks that they never finished, and it was like 80% of it, that they
wow,
didn't finish. Um, and I just think it's because, you kind of have to pick and choose, and you only have so much time, and kids only have so much capacity. And so really just let it be a organic, more, the IG is there to give you a buffet of resources, and you can
right,
definitely take it at your pace, make it a flexible approach, and not beat yourself up for anything that you can't do right away. Because remember, you have all year, not 9 months. Um,
correct.
yeah, in the classroom setting per se. So
You are not limited to what somebody else's schedule. You are just living life, and your life now includes doing school on the
yeah,
regular. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you, Emme. I appreciate you coming and spending some time with me today.
Thanks. It was fun talking with you.
Thank you for joining us today. Do you have an idea for a podcast topic? Or do you want to chat with Sonlight on an upcoming episode? Email us at connections@sonlight.com.